coming out of the pressure on this one. Out of the prisons on this one. I know the pressure on this one. It's kinda high, I ain't gonna lie, but we coming out of anxiety. Sick and tired of hiding. Good God Almighty, you didn't die, so we could have anything less than more life. More life. Yeah. More life to my thing. More life to my thing.
Shopping assistance. Your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Are you feeling stuck in your career and unsure of your next move? Or are you a growing business struggling to manage people and build the right team? High and Thrive Consultancy is ready to support you. We help professionals stand out through resume revamps, LinkedIn optimization, interview preparation, and career coaching so you can show up confidently and competitively in today's job market. And for small and medium-sized businesses, we provide HR audits and optimization along with recruitment support to help you build strong, compliant, and effective teams. Ready to grow with clarity and confidence? Email us at hireandthrive@gmail.com. Connect with us on Instagram at Hire and Thrive or follow our WhatsApp public channel, the Hire and Thrive Hub. Hire and Thrive Consultancy, because thriving is intentional.
If you're ready to build confidence, strengthen your self-worth, and create healthier relationships, you're in the right place. I offer speaking engagements, coaching, and book design to help you grow from the inside out. Check out my books on Amazon and visit Linktree to book me or start your journey today. Now let's dive in. This is where confidence meets clarity. Welcome back to the Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here a special guest. Her name is Kelly Edmondson, and she is a registered nurse, a certified grief counselor, and the founder of Timely Presence. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to engage with your audience.
Yes, most definitely. All right, so I want to go into it first. So I want to know, why does grief affect people so differently, even when they experience similar losses?
Yeah, Jade, I think you hit the nail on the head. Grief really is as individual as a fingerprint, the same person, and have completely different grieving experiences.
Yeah.
And both of them can be doing it right? Grief is really shaped. It's not just the loss, but it's shaped by the relationship and the history and that relationship, completed and unfinished conversations, the role that person played in your daily life, right? It's different to lose someone that you live with than someone that you see 3 or 4 times a year. Not that there's not still love, but there's just difference. That proximity changes the relationship. And so it's also really a reflective of our own current mental health state. Right. And so there can be times in our lives, we all know this, we talk about it, kind of how things happen in threes, or there's a cluster of, I'm just in a tough time in my life. You can have a multitude of losses all at once. People can lose relationships. You could lose a job. If you happen to lose a significant person in your life at the same time, that's compounded grief, and it's much more difficult to deal with than if everything else is pretty stable, right? And so loss is really a reflection of life and what we have going on. When everything that happens in your day-to-day, how you manage, how you show up, how you're attending to your mental health needs, truly impacts things that happen that we don't plan for, that are unexpected, including loss.
Yeah. You're right. What inspired you to create Timely Presence, and how does your organization support individuals and families experiencing grief?
Yeah. Timely Presence was born from the most intimate space. I lost my son Darius in 2023, and it was really born from the silence I experienced after he died. So the funeral was beautiful. People showed up in droves, but they went back to living and disappeared. Not that they didn't care, not that I don't have wonderful people in my life, but they didn't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And so that gap between intention and action is really where bereaved people fall through. And so I founded Timely Presence because there has to be a better way. When after he died and I was preparing to return to work, I got two things from the funeral home. One was a big biohazard container. I'm a nurse, so this was just a few years into the COVID pandemic, and it was a little scary, and it was his leftover ashes. And the second thing that came was a letter envelope, and I thought, oh my goodness, they're checking on me. They know it's been a couple of months. I must be going back to work. And it was his autopsy report.
Oh my God.
Those are the only two things I received from the funeral home. As a nurse, we follow up with patients, right? You've gone to the doctor and had the calls. They kind of call you incessantly until you do a survey.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, we're not checking in with people who have suffered the most intense loss you can imagine. There's no follow-up. There's no aftercare. So that's what we do. We show up. We show up all year long. And that first year, we come on the dates that research say are predicted to be the most difficult. So for me, that would be Mother's Day. That would be my son's birthday. The first Christmas when your child is not sitting there next to the tree, right? Those are emotionally charged days. And we follow that emotional calendar with gifts all year long from your loved ones, from your employer, from whoever cares about you that says, we're here. We know this is tough, but you are not alone. That's the premise of Timely Presence. We have had great reception, but what we're learning is that our work really goes beyond the gift service. And so we are launching this summer 2 new distinct programs for people who want to go deeper. And so the first is a workshop, really, for employers and leaders. You know, grieving people go back to work. You know this, right? Mm-hmm. Estimates say that 20 to 25% of people in the United States, adults in the United States, are actively managing through significant grief. And so we want to help leaders show up for their teams better. And so we've got some workshop and frameworks to support them. But the second group I want to help support are those who have experienced these losses and say, I want to put this pain to purpose. It's a grief to legacy cohort. It's really designed for those who are ready to carry their grief into purpose, create legacy, and ready to rise. And so we feel like we can help people beyond that first year and helping them to create and imagine something in the spirit of honoring their loved one that lives on.
So first I want to say, condolences, because this is something that I know you're still feeling, even in terms of the loss of your son. I am also happy that you were aware, even during your grief, that, sometimes people don't care as much as we'd want them to. And it's not that we don't have great people around us. It's a reminder that for people who are not immediately affected, people are affected, but intimately, it becomes a greater part of something that you carry with you when you lose someone. And you rightly said, no, people really don't know what to do after. Okay. Right? And as you spoke, I remember because my dad passed. And for me, I remember just standing up and by the graveside and listening to persons planning out their week. Mm-hmm. What that reminded me of is that life goes on. That's even right. After that. And yes, they came to support, and I truly appreciate them for coming to support, but it also showed me that people come to support you because you are grieving, not necessarily because it affects you as much as it affects them. So the thought behind it sometimes is not so deep and ingrained as somehow we want it to. So I'm happy that out of this awareness, you're able to make this company. So people who are suffering in silence because they're still grieving, there's a way that they will feel a little better by remembering, being in comfort with the loss that they have experienced.
What a tough thing to experience at the graveside for your father. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, it's really tough and an accurate reflection of the fact that you're right. People move on, right? And most of them move on much quicker than we would expect, or that feels good to the bereaved. Again, not that this is a judgment, but loss is tricky. It's complicated, it's complex, and people don't always know how to show up for you during that. They don't even know that they should, right? Have you felt that? People haven't even known that they should call you.
Yeah, I guess because they probably don't know what are they going to say. And the thing is, sometimes when people begin to talk, sometimes it upsets me because they're talking things that doesn't make any sense. So I think people are afraid to be silent with comforting, right? So if something happens, you don't need to be talking. You can ensure the person is eating by ordering food,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
You can send them cash up and ensure that, okay, they have money to go to work for the week or to buy something that they feel like they want to buy to help comfort them. We are afraid to sit with persons when they're grieving in silence because we're afraid of silence. So we feel like we always have to fill up that space with words and talking. When sometimes what you need is just their presence.
That's exactly right. Some of the best conversations I had in the acute phase after Darius died were silent phone calls with my sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
I live in Florida. She lives in Ohio. Just sitting on the phone, letting me sigh, cry, do nothing. Very impactful. Being there, whatever that means, right? I had so much respect for a dear friend who said, I don't even know what to say, but I'm here. Yeah.
And that's one of the best conversations. And people might think, but we're not talking, but your presence is. It's saying a lot just by you being there.
That's right. That's right.
What advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in their grief and they're unable to move forward?
Yes, that's a great. Thanks for this question. I want to reframe it just a little because the idea of moving forward can sometimes feel like betrayal to people, like you're leaving the person behind. But what you're really seeking is learning to carry the loss differently, right? How you feel at day 3 should not be how you feel at month 3 or year 3. Right? It takes time and support and being honest about where you are, but you learn to carry the weight differently. So there's really 5 things that I would say for someone who is just grieving, feels like they can't push through. Every day still feels heavy. And the first is, what is it that you're actually grieving? And that might sound silly, but so my son, right? So certainly I'm grieving his loss. What you learn as his friends begin getting married, buying homes, you're grieving a future that can't be realized. I'm grieving that I'll never have grandchildren with him, right? Call out the grief because it's more than one thing. And I think when we begin to realize that when you can begin to acknowledge that, you can begin to feel and address it. So name it what you're grieving. People lose their spouses. You're not just grieving that John's gone. You're grieving the loss of date night. You know, you're grieving the loss of personal touch. I mean, those things matter. Call it out. Next is build a ritual, not a resolution. You can't fix grief, right? We can't Bob the Builder it back together. And we can't resolute ourselves out of it. You know, people say, I am going to just recover. Well, that's not how this works. But you can begin to build small rituals. You can say that my loved one died on the 3rd. Darius died on the 3rd. On the 3rd every month, whatever your thing is, I'm going to let a balloon off in his honor. I'm going to light a candle in his honor. His favorite restaurant was X. We're going there to have cheesecake. Whatever it is, begin to build small rituals that can begin to reframe those moments where you can anticipate the tension, that you begin to reframe them in a way that kind of honors the loss or honors your loved one instead of always being so rooted in just the loss. Honor the love. With that, number 3, I'd say check your calendar, and this matters. We know there are certain dates that are going to be more difficult. Plan for them. Don't have a big, lofty event planned a day before your recently departed's birthday. You have to plan for the emotional calendar and have the people who support you be available for when you need them. Which moves to 4, letting someone witness you. We don't like to make people uncomfortable. Let me tell you, I talk about my son. If you're in my circle, we talk about him, and people had to get comfortable with that, right? But this is a part of the healing journey, and I shared that with them. This doesn't make me sad. It actually is soothing for me to be able to have conversations about my son. So I want to laugh about how many times he got grounded in high school. I want to laugh about it makes me feel close to him. So let's talk about it. And the last I'll say is give yourself permission to still be grieving. I should grieve the loss of my son for the rest of my life. How it looks will be different 10 years from now than it was 3 years ago, right? But he deserves that. He deserves to be remembered, and that there's a gap in my life that he's no longer around. That gap is real. It doesn't define me, but it does exist. It's okay to grieve the loss of someone that you love. In fact, it's normal.
You know, I'm listening to you, and number 4 and 5 really have stood out to me because I remember after my father passed, I heard someone, and it was someone who I thought at the time was supposed to, be a support system. And the person said, "Listen, I'm giving you 2 weeks to be crying over this loss, and afterwards, I don't want to see you crying anymore." And that for me was a big gut punch because I just lost my father, and this is something that you have said to me. So it's important, number 4 and number 5, to let someone witness you, but someone who's also understanding and won't limit your experiences to how they are feeling because they're uncomfortable. And giving yourself permission to grieve is not caring if people expect you to stop grieving today. This is about you, not about them.
That's right. That's right. Boy, I am sorry. You had a tough go with some of the people around you.
Listen, I have learned to navigate grief differently based on people who surrounded me at the time. So I've learned to now embrace different persons and people who I am safe with rather than just people who want to be around me, because there's a difference.
Right. Jade, I love that. People I'm safe with.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful phrase. It really is.
Yeah, grief is difficult, and if you don't have the right persons there to support you, you can probably grieve longer in the same way you did in day one.
That's
and
right.
You're stuck in that stage if you don't have people to help you navigate the entire process and the stages of grief, and the fact that sometimes the 5 stages come in one. Right? And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes number 1 stays longer than number 2, stage 2. Right. And, it depends. But just having the space and the safe space to grieve is good. And it's very healthy for us.
That's exactly right. And it's your right.
Yes.
And unprocessed grief shows up as heart disease, as depression, anxiety, substance use disorders, anger. Right? I mean, it is a public health issue for us to not figure out as a community how to manage through grief.
How can friends, family members, churches, and communities better support those who are mourning?
This is my favorite question because it matters so much. And in light of this conversation, it matters so much. I call this the 3 R's. The 3 R's. The first is regulate, and this is important based on what you've shared, Jay. Regulate be careful of what you say. Pause. Be intentional with your words, right? Think about the impact of the words that you're going to say. So be intentional, pause, make sure that what you're going to say is right for the moment. That's number 1. The wrong words at the wrong time are a major problem. We've shared a couple examples of that. 2 is respond, do something. Do something. You said it. Too often, people with good intentions say, just let me know what you need. They have no idea. They are in a shock state. They have no idea. So just show up.
Yeah.
Bring dinner on Tuesday. Offer to take the kids to soccer practice on Saturday.
Yes.
Come do the laundry, right? I mean, just do something.
Come help clean the house.
That's right. Something. Don't make it their responsibility. Just do something. Call, check in, do something. And the last, so that's regulate, respond, and the last R is remain. Most people close the book on your grief in 3 to 6 weeks, but the intensity of grief peaks between 3 to 6 months. You see the misalignment?
Yeah.
Stay. Just check it. Put a date on your calendar. Check in. Think about how Thanksgiving is different for them this year, right? Just keep checking in. Don't stop. Don't you be the one who's there when there's no one else. I called the silence the months after Darius died deafening. The silence was so loud, right? Help fill that space. Be there. So regulate, respond, and remain. Stay. It's the simplest thing I can say. And for churches and communities, all that's still relevant, but I'd say just intentionally build grief into your culture year round, not just at funerals. We have so much in our culture to support dying and the dead. We really do. We have there's so much around the ceremony of death, right? Everyone comes and shows up. It's impactful. There's the service. There's the, you're at the funeral. There's the repast. There's the hospice leading up to it. All these things. And then there's the death, and there's nothing for the survivor. Nothing. They're the ones living with carrying the death, right? And so for churches in particular, having systems created to support the survivor, I agree that we should honor the life of the deceased. But how do we honor the loss being carried by the living? Your acknowledgement is a lifeline. It's a lifeline.
How do we honor? That's heavy. It's not frequently that you have people really asking that question or doing something for them. How do you honor the surviving part that's carrying this?
Yeah. I think it's creating space for people to say their name out loud. It's marking anniversaries, right? It's knowing that your dad was a huge basketball fan and just checking in. Are you keeping up with the Bulls? I know your dad was a big Chicago Bulls fan. Have you adopted that, Jade? No? What are you doing to keep your dad's memory alive? Or,
so I talk about my dad a lot, right? So he was a counselor. I'm a PK, so he was a bishop and he was also a counselor. So almost in everything I do, because I'm a counselor now, it mirrors how you would do things. Or if it is that I'm in a situation, I'm like, what would Dad do? What would he say? And I listen to his voice. I know he did some recordings, and I listen to his voice over and over again just to be close to him. So that's what I do. I just celebrate everything that he has taught me, how it has impacted me, and the legacy that he has left behind for me, even in terms of helping people. So I love to help people because I saw my dad helping people.
I love that. You're living his legacy.
This podcast right now because of my dad.
I love that. And people need to hear that. Like you're living in the legacy of your father, right? That is, it brings you joy. And yet people to this day are still afraid to bring him up because they think that you might fall apart. I've actually built my life around honoring his legacy, and people are afraid to say, I remember your dad and how he acts. That acknowledgement, that recalling them to the present, that remembrance is priceless. None of us want to feel like our person is forgotten, right? Your dad had an impact in this world. He mattered. Calling that forward is so important for people. People need to hear that. They're afraid to do it. They need to hear that. Not only will it not cause me to fall apart, it will help me on my journey. Not only is it not harmful, it's helpful.
Yeah,
people need to hear that.
How are they going to mention it without it kind of affecting them? They're uncomfortable with it. Fear. It's not necessarily my fear. or your fear, because you love to talk about your son. I love to talk about my dad. So sometimes it's other people's fear. If we could leave something with our listeners, one message with them about grief, resilience, and healing, what would it be?
The funeral is not the finish line. Healing doesn't happen in the week between the death and the service. It's not how that works. This is a journey. It's months, it's years. When the world's gone back to normal, and I'm talking to the bereaved right now. When the world's gone back to normal and you're trying to figure out how to move forward, who you are without the person that you have lost, here's what I want you to hear. Resilience is not about bouncing back.
Oh.
It's about you being held long enough, supported long enough to find your footing again, to find you again. That requires presence. Find your tribe and ask them to be a witness for you through this. Don't be afraid to say, I need help. And sometimes that's people in your network. Sometimes it's a grief counselor or coach. Sometimes it's a pastor. Find someone that can be a witness to you on the journey. It's time, it's patient, it's recognizing the loss and learning how to lean into the love. Because the love doesn't die. The love exists. And I just want every bereaved person to know that grief is the unfortunate burden that is evidence of how deeply we loved someone. And so that love is real and deserves to be honored long after the funeral. Don't forget to honor the love. Don't forget to build rituals around the love. Don't forget the love matters and doesn't go away. Keep it alive. Remembrance is important.
Kelly, I enjoyed this conversation.
It's meaningful.
It was a difficult conversation to have, but I did enjoy speaking to you about it.
Yeah, you too.
If there are persons who need your service for timely presence, where is it that they can find you?
So our website is thetimelypresence.com. But our socials, we do a lot of teaching on grief and the healing journey and process for both those who are grieving and those who want to support them. So you can find us. I am on LinkedIn at Kelly Edmondson, EDMONDSON. We are on Facebook and Instagram, The Timely Presence on Instagram, Timely Presence on Facebook, and I am the.Kelly Edmondson on Instagram and Facebook. We talk about it. We talk about the thing. It's important to keep the conversation in the room. Grief will, if you live long enough and you love it all, you will experience grief. And I am on a mission to redefine the way we're taking care of people processing this very human response to loss.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be all right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you for this meaningful discussion.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really meaningful. I think it's a conversation that we need to have. We're afraid of having it, but I think it's something we need to have. So thank you for this conversation and bringing to light, even talking about, why are you grieving? I'm building a ritual, not a resolution. Check your calendars. Letting someone witness you. Give yourself permission to grieve. Those 5 things have stood up for me. And important also to regulate, respond, and remain. Yeah, we miss the mark a lot with grieving because we want people to get over it or to get past it, but not sit in it. Sit in it and feel how you're feeling. It doesn't matter how long it takes. And as we said, I'm going to reiterate again, if someone you know is grieving, you don't have to call and talk. Just call them and be on the phone with them in silence, or go by them and just be quiet. Just be comfortable with silence. Yeah. So let's be a little bit more sensitive when it comes on to grieve. So thank you so much, Kelly, for this. And I'm hoping and praying that persons who even listen can even process what she's saying and even grieve in the way that, you feel most comfortable with, and use her services to even help with the grieving process, because these things do matter. Yeah. So thank you so much again. And I want to say thank you so much to my listeners on the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.
We coming out of the pressure on this one, out of the prisons on this one. I know the pressure on this one, it's kinda high, I ain't gonna lie, but we coming out of anxiety. Sick and tired of hiding. Good God Almighty, you didn't die, so we could have anything less than more life. More life. Yeah. More life to my thing. More life to my thing. Staying clear of low vibrational folks, bro. I want no parts of that low vibe you might bring. Yeah. Love the Lord with all your heart, God, your heart not fall apart. Certainly just understand that hurt people, no such thing as perfect people. Sometimes long distance love is all you can give to certain people. If they don't know that your presence a gift, absence might be the appropriate response. Fresh out of emotional attention, fresh out. You will not get close enough, won't let me stress out. If I don't go stoic, you gon' let me crash out. Yeah. We coming out of depression on this one. Out of the prisons on this one.